We're going to go to Ido Semedo from Cape Verde next, but after that, Alicia Raimondo from Canada, you'll be next up, so if you can make your way to the podium. So, Ido.
Okay. Thank you very much. I belong to this youth network called the Global Shapers of Praia. And recently in my hometown, we had an event called Sunset with Leadership, where we invited a former top Cape Verdean diplomat at the UN in New York to share his experiences with the youth crowd from our capital city, from Praia. And one thing that
So could you speak up a little bit? Mr. Annan can't quite hear you.
Yeah?
That's better.
Better? Okay.
Yes, right.
Much better.
Yeah, okay, then I can repeat. I came from this youth network called the Global Shapers, the Praia chapter. And we have monthly events called Sunset with Leadership. And in this event, we invite leaders from our community. And recently, we invited a former top Cape Verdean diplomat who was representing us for years at the UN in New York to share his experiences with us. And one thing he told us, and it was a confession that I think every single person here like me who comes from a small country can kindly relate to, is that you don't actually count unless the big countries want to get your votes to pass something at the UN Assembly, and they use the old kind of sordid tactics to get your support. So having said that, small countries like us don't actually count. Do you, Mr. Kofi Annan, really believe that the superpowers, the world superpowers, care whether countries like Kiribati, like Tuvalu, like Maldives, or like my country, Cape Verde, might disappear in the future because of rising sea levels?
No, I think we are all concerned about what could happen to small island states if we do not take seriously the fight against climate change. But let me first comment on the idea that small countries do not count at the UN. Obviously, the big powers who have vetoes have greater influence within the organization. But over time, I had seen, and I think many others have seen that influence as something that they should do in the interest of the entire international community. The Security Council, as it were, could be seen as the executive committee of the UN and the General Assembly. But over time, it's become more involved with individual protection, individual power of the countries. And there are many small countries in the UN which punch above their weight. Countries like Switzerland, Liechtenstein, countries like Costa Rica. You don't have to be big to have great ideas. Bigness has nothing to do with greatness. If you have great ideas and you put it forward, the others will listen, including the big ones. And I think what is important on the latter part of your question about whether the big boys care about what happens to small island states, today we all have to realize we are in the same boat. You cannot be safe at the expense of the other. You cannot be prosperous at the expense of the other as we operate in this interconnected world. Maybe let me say a boat is perhaps too narrow. Let's say we are all on a cruise ship. He may be in the best suite on the ship, and I may be in the hold somewhere in the basement. But if one end of the ship begins to take water, we are all at risk, regardless of your accommodation in the cruise ship. And this is something that we need to internalize and realize that we swim or sink together in the long term, particularly when it comes to climate change. Thank you.
Thank you.